Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier, moving over to Del Mar to kick off the 50-cent late pick 4 with the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series event. This a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. It's the Grade 2 Pat O'Brien Stakes. Let's take a look at this field, carded as race number 7 at beautiful Del Mar. The morning line favorite, Matt, the number 1, Catalina Cruiser. 3 starts, 3 blowout wins, 2 giant speed figures. The sky is the limit from a potential standpoint.
Yeah, it really is, and I think that's kind of the difficult thing that you need to address here. The potential is there, the possibilities are endless. The problem is, from a wagering standpoint, this is very clearly the best field he's ever faced at a distance that the jury is out if this is actually what he wants, or is he the kind of horse, based on the way that he's built, looks like he wants to run all day. The inside post is no bargain for him. There's not a lot of pace in this race. There are a lot of things that he's going to need to answer here in a short amount of time and at a short price.
This, of course, is a Breeders' Cup Challenge Series event. We have 2 Breeders' Cup winners from last year back for more. We'll begin with the sprint winner, Roy H., who won his seasonal debut. Couldn't have been any easier in the Palos Verdes. He ran his heart out to win 3rd in the Dubai Golden Shaheen. And I thought his comeback when the beaten favorite last time out in the Grade 1 Bing Crosby was a rock-solid effort, a good starting off point for his second season. Lost in all the hoopla of Catalina Cruiser is Roy H., who's a generous 3-1 on the morning line.
You know, I guess I'm going to agree and disagree with you a little bit at the same time. All things considered, it was his first start back since Dubai. In the grand scheme of things, it wasn't a bad effort at all. There is a part of me that wonders that effort in Dubai I was disappointed in. I thought he was going to run a lot better than he did, and I didn't see any real excuse, especially considering he was on a pretty decent position in the racetrack, and Mind Your Biscuits just absolutely blew him away. And I just thought he was in a really good spot in the Bing Crosby, and he just didn't have that finish. Now, maybe he was a short horse, and he needed a start. I'm also not totally convinced that 7/8 is going to be his ball game. I think he's probably better at 3/4. Maybe this is another instance where you wait till you get back for the Santa Anita Sprint Championship, and that's the final prep into the Breeders' Cup.
Battle of Midway, 3rd in last year's Kentucky Derby, blossomed when equipped with blinkers by the great trainer Jerry Hollendorfer, culminating with a victory in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Now, yes, he raced on the best part of the track that day, the outside. He beat a very good field. Sharp as Teca, next out 1:15, Beyer, winner of the prestigious Cigar Mile. Awesome Slew came back to run a 1:02 in his first start off a long layoff in the Grade 1 Carter. But you could tell the story about what's been going on with Battle of Midway since.
Yeah, unfortunately for the ownership group, he was retired at the end of the year and he went off to be a stallion, and unfortunately he's proved to be infertile at this point. So look, he's still a young horse. He's only 4 years old. Why not throw him back into training? And it sounds like, when you hear all accounts from Hollendorfer and company, doesn't seem like he's really missed a beat. Sounds like he's come back and he's just as good as he ever was. At the end of the day, this is still a giant ask first off the bench. You're facing quality sprinters when sprinting, truth be told, I don't think is his game. I think he's more a middle distance horse. I feel like this is probably a very good starting off point. What is the end game? Who knows? Maybe trying to repeat in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, but to me, this is probably going to be a little bit too tough first time out.
You liked Ransom the Moon last time out. You were rewarded with a 9-2 mutual when he scored in the Grade 1 Bing Crosby earlier this meet. Just a beautiful ride from Flavien Prat. There was a hot pace. It helped Ransom the Moon, but he saved ground early. Flavien came to the outside, and despite dropping the whip at the 3/16 pole, he was in total command in the stretch. Was it simply a situation that he had the right pace? Because I know that this horse can be a lot closer if need be.
Yeah, it was interesting when you listened to Flavien Prat afterward. He said, I knew there was going to be pace. We wanted to take him back and make that one run, because it felt like when we had kept him closer, maybe his finish wasn't quite as potent. I think it's an instance where he just had a beautiful situation, everything considered, in that most recent start. I think the concern for him, for me anyway, this time around is, even if he is more mid-pack, the pace is going to be, I think, much more pedestrian this time around, and I think he's going to be dependent on someone else to be the one to commit to push a horse like St. Joe Bay. Maybe it is Roy H. in a spot like this, because outside of St. Joe Bay, there's really no confirmed speed.
And that is a vastly different story than what happened in the Bing Crosby. Take it from me. I liked St. Joe Bay that day at 19-1, and I thought he ran a heck of a race. And he had the starch completely taken out of him in the early portion. He fought on all the way inside the 16 16th pole before getting tired. Timeform US thinks the pace might be a bit kinder to him this time around, but he also has to go an extra furlong, and I'm not sure at this point in his career that 7 furlongs is his best game. But let me tell you something. John Sadler made a real nice claim 3-back.
Absolutely did. I thought long and hard about picking this horse in this spot. I picked him second just because of that pace advantage that he's projecting to have. The concern I have is at 7/8 of a mile, as you alluded to. I realize, look, he ran a bang-up race at 7/8, 2 starts back, but I just think there are other more talented horses in this race. When it comes down to it, St. Joe Bay is a very nice one. I don't think he's a grade 1 caliber horse, and I think there are grade 1 caliber runners in here.
Sadler has also gotten a lot out of the 6-horse Greedy, a horse that he claimed for $40,000 3 starts back, immediately turned him into a graded stakes place runner, and he got a win at Del Mar last time out, although I thought he kind of got a softish trip against a weaker field.
Agreed. He's going to need to step his game up. I know he ran well, I thought, 2 starts back in that San Carlos. I also question this distance. To me, he's always been better off a little bit shorter. I recognize he's been campaigned at longer distances in his career, but I think he's probably best between 6 and 6.5.
We followed 3-5 India when he was with Chad Brown in New York. I think we both agreed that he was always just a little bit of an underachiever. After his most recent start in March, he was a vet scratch on April the 19th. He's been laid up for a long time. Listen, Phil DAmato has done wonders with horses like this in the past, and this one has shown a little bit of ability, but I need to see one off this layoff against this tough a field.
Agreed. I think it would be one thing if it was a softer group that he was facing. He's facing the best of the best, and again, we've talked about it. It feels like the Southern California sprinters, just generally on the main track. That's the key group. He's going to be going from the east to the west. He's facing a world different animal.
Completing the field is DAmato's Vorticity, going turf to dirt. The last time we saw him on dirt was at Timonium, going a 2-turn 6.5, where he finished behind a solid Maryland-bred Struth. No star, but a horse that could compete in those state-bred stakes. His next out race was 3rd in the Maryland Million Sprint with an 89 buyer. Something tells me he needs a career best, although he does like 7 furlongs.
He's going to need a career best not only to threaten for the victory, but to just even sniff the board. This is a really good group.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Grade 2 Pat O'Brien. You just think Catalina Cruiser keeps rolling along, and after watching his first 3 starts, it's hard to argue. I think he's got to be sent, and I think he can make the front.
You know, so the other thing that you've got to take a look at with this race from a handicapping standpoint, the controlling speed in here, on paper, at face value, is St. Joe Bay, owned and trained by John Sadler and Rawness Racing. Same connections for Catalina Cruiser. I have a hard time imagining that the two of them are going to go hammer and tong, just beating each other up on the front end. If that's the case, if Catalina Cruiser is sent and St. Joe Bay relinquishes, I think it's over. I think Catalina Cruiser puts on a show. But I do think there's a scenario where they say the 7 goes out and clears. Let's just try, because realistically, I know Vorticity has a little bit of early tactical speed. I think maybe they're going to be able to angle out off the rail. I know you're asking for a lot in there. To me, he's the most talented horse in the race, I think, purely. We'll find out if there's a scenario where this isn't what he wants. Maybe he wants longer, X, Y, and Z. Truth be told, I would have rather them sent him to the Woodward next week at Saratoga. It is what it is. We'll find out if he can handle 7/8. I just think the talent is off the chart.
Something tells me that Roy H. is going to show a little bit of speed in this spot as well, either to keep Catalina Cruiser pinned down towards the inside or to at least get into this race if the pace isn't fast. But I also think Ransom the Moon is sharp right now. I think 7 is well within his scope. Last time was the time perhaps to have him, and you have him at a better price than he is on the morning line than I, but he is very sharp. I'll go with Ransom the Moon. Give me numbers with Catalina Cruiser on top.
1754.
I'm going 5187 in the Grade 2. Pat O'Brien. It's part of the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series, and it's a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Good luck.